everyone. Welcome to Confidently Be You. My name is Jennifer Shlomovich, and today I am discussing managing anxiety through a healthy lifestyle and releasing negative energy with my special guest, Jennifer Farley. Jennifer is a coach focusing on helping women prioritize their physical and emotional health so they can regain vibrancy and feel better. Prior to working as a coach, Jennifer worked for over 10 years as a recipe developer, food photographer, and cookbook author. She also freelanced for various outlets, including the Washington Post, Parade Magazine, and eHow. This fall, Jennifer will be launching a membership community called the Mind Body Circle that will include group coaching, a video library, resources, accountability, and support. Jennifer, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's nice to have you here. So before we talk about our topic, the first question I always ask my guests is, what inspired you to do the work that you do?
Well, anxiety has been something that I've dealt with for as long as I can remember. When I was a kid, I was really awkward socially. I still am, but not as bad. So I had really bad social anxiety and like fear of heights, fear of falling. And as I got older, it just became more generalized anxiety. And I noticed, I think, probably about 20-ish years ago that it was really starting to impact my life, outside of just having times of panic and anxiety. And so I decided to really make an effort to work on it. And I started making a lot of improvements, and I realized I really wanted to be able to help other people with this because I think that there's a lot that we can do that isn't as obvious.
Yeah, I can relate a lot to with just having to work with anxiety. And what I realized is it never goes away. It's just learning ways of like managing it, or there's certain things that you can do in your life to help maybe decrease those things from happening, or find ways to help you navigate situations that can create anxiety. So what are some of you mentioned some of it, so what are some of your other experiences with anxiety?
Well, I've noticed things evolving. So what started out as a fear of falling, when I was in high school and college, I drove all over the country, no issues, loved road tripping. And so now I'm in my mid-20s, I had a panic attack driving over a big bridge. And so ever since then, bridges have been a real issue for me. And that it's interesting how it evolves. That evolved into highway driving, which is like I can do when I need to, but I take back roads whenever I can because I get really nervous on the highway. Hiking near anywhere with a steep drop off, it's that fear of falling again. I watched this comedy routine one time where this guy was talking about he had a terrible fear of hiking, and like he had this fantasy of falling over the edge going, I was right to be afraid. And like I think that now all the time, which is not helpful. But and then also just sometimes I've noticed it come up unexpectedly, a lot of times probably based on past trauma, or I'm not even expecting it. Like we had a bad experience with one of our cats almost escaping, and I've gotten very paranoid about the cats since then. Or before I launched my business, I had to send out, like the day I was launching it, I was going to send out an email announcement I had a list of about 70 plus people blind copied, and I just out of nowhere wasn't expecting, I was all ready to go and had a lot of anxiety. So it's still something I've gotten much better at managing, but it still pops up for me all of the time. I think part of this is learning how to manage it and prevent it, but sort of accepting that it's this thing that doesn't ever go away. It's just about managing.
Yeah. For me also, when I noticed for me, like when I created my business and doing things that really push me out of my comfort zone, that can create a lot of anxiety, especially when you're investing your time and your money and you're putting yourself out there in a very vulnerable way,
Absolutely.
that can make all of your insecurities that you thought went away all of a sudden reemerge.
Yep.
So, and growing up, I was teased and picked on and bullied through middle school, elementary school, middle school. Okay, so that has that imprint where it, again, I'm a lot better now, but at one point it just made it difficult for me to feel secure about putting myself out there because, when you've been tormented a good part of your early years, and those are those formative years. So, yeah, so I'm really excited to learn more about what healthy lifestyle changes that you've done that have helped you manage anxiety.
Sure. And I just want to completely tell you how much I relate to what you just said. It's so interesting how those early formative experiences shape us, because I believe that's where my social anxiety comes from. If you think about me launching the business, it makes sense that, I'm scared that I'm going to be rejected or I'm going to be made fun of, even though like on an intellectual level, I know the people that I'm making the announcement to are going to be very supportive, but that like visceral internal, what if they don't like me? What if they make fun of me? What if they laugh? It's like in there, like that little child. So anyway, totally get it.
Yeah.
So for healthy lifestyle changes that have really helped me, the biggest one, I think they're all pretty big, but a really big one that I've done research into, I'm always fascinated by it and learning more, is improving my gut health. There are studies that link how our brain affects our GI tract. So like, if we're anxious, we're likely to get a stomach ache or have something like that happen, or, a gurgly stomach or, something like that. But it's been proven over time that our GI tract also impacts our brain. And so a healthy gut means, you sort of break that cycle a little bit. There's less stress to your brain, which means less stress to your gut. And so that's been a big one. And it's pretty straightforward. It's, what you eat makes a big difference to how you feel. We all sort of know that, but we don't always know the why. And with anxiety, that's a big why. So, lots of vegetables and varieties and whole foods, and no one has to eliminate processed foods, but I've really cut down on sugar and refined carbs, and it, picking and choosing my moments, and it really has made a big difference for me. So like that's the first big one. And another one that kind of goes in line with that is reducing glucose spikes. If you're when we eat sugar or starches or processed foods with because a lot of them have tons of sugar in them, we spike and then we crash, and those can really impact our mood. And so by cutting down or doing certain little tricks, we can stabilize our glucose. So that's a big one that is sort of in line with gut health, but sort of its own little subset. And another big one is exercising, moving my body. I heard my whole life that was something that was good for me, but it was annoying at the time because I wasn't used to it, and I didn't want to do it, and change is hard. But cardio gets adrenaline and cortisol, all the stress hormones out of your system. It creates endorphins. It just and it releases a lot of that pent-up energy. So it just makes you feel better. And then walking out, if I feel like sitting on the couch, walking in the sunlight gives me serotonin, which is also really good for reducing anxiety. So there's other little things, but those are probably the biggest ones.
Those, I can relate to the various examples that you give. Gut health is something that I've really realized had an impact on my skin. Like I have rosacea and I've dealt with eczema, and I've gotten control over those things by realizing the foods that were impacting those things. Like I wanted to first avoid any like prescription stuff first and see, like, because I could tell, I started to pay attention to how certain foods made me feel and how also stress can impact your gut health. And having a lot of trauma as a child for various things, and then a good part of my adult life, constantly being in this fight or flight phase, and then having to teach myself that I don't have to be. That was the other thing. After I've kind of worked through a lot of that stuff, there's a part of me that didn't know how to operate without those things in my life anymore, if that sounds weird. And so, yeah, so all of that stress, even though I don't have that in my life anymore, it's just been the cleanup work with my body and just working through those things. And so I've noticed how gluten has had an impact on me. Like I can have it once in a while. If I have a gluten thing here and there, and that can also impact blood sugar spikes as well, if you're having, something with a lot of gluten in it. So it's the everything in moderation. I'll pick and choose. I'm a vegan, but there's a lot of vegan junk food out there. Like Oreos are technically vegan. So once in a, if I know, like, all right, you know what, I'm going out with my family, or there's some kind of event going on, like, or I just really want a vegan cheeseburger or something, then I'll have it. But then it's as long as I'm being good to my body most of the time, it's definitely helped in just my overall mood and how I feel, less sluggish. And having that having more energy to function.
Yeah, it's amazing how all of this stuff kind of cycles together, because the better we feel physically, the better we feel emotionally. The worse we feel emotionally, the less energy we have to eat the good stuff. So it's all really interconnected. Another thing I thought of while you were talking with the gut health is and this was a shocker to me, and I'm guilty of this often still, but remembering to eat slowly and chew our food makes a big difference.
I'm not good at that at all.
I'm not good at it at all, because a lot of times in the middle of the workday, like my goal is to make the hunger go away. I have stuff to do. I'm busy. But yeah, nutrient absorption is a big part of gut health. And so if we don't chew our food and we just swallow it down, we're not getting all the good stuff into our gut. But like, do as I say, not as I do, because I do
that. But again, as coaches, we don't, we're not perfect. We're people who've gone through the challenges that our clients have. We have just found ways that help work through those things or manage those things much better. But we still deal with it. So yeah, and also the exercising, that is definitely a big helper with mood. I've been trying, because I sit a lot during the day for work, and it can be so easy, just, I just want to finish one more thing before I get up and go move around a little bit. Next thing you know, it's 3-4 hours have gone by before I've actually gotten up. So I've been trying to like get up and do jumping jacks, like every couple hours, just do like 20 jumping jacks and then sit back down. And I noticed just how just doing something so simple as doing 20 jumping jacks and then going back to work doesn't take up a lot of time, and it's helping increase your heart rate. And I notice it does help me feel better, especially if I'm like stressed out about a deadline or something. It does impact my mood.
Yep, it makes a big difference. I love to try to do it in the morning, because I've become a big believer in get the hardest thing out of the way first, because the later and the longer it goes into the day, all our good intentions slowly start to fade as we get more tired. And I also like a big breakfast. I feel like that has helped me a lot. Just the more routines I have that have helped me. And so I will just have my coffee, sit for a while, go and work out or take a walk first thing in the morning. And then by the time I'm done with that, it's out of the way and I'm ready to have a big breakfast. And then I start work. Because my old thing used to be like my morning ritual is waking up, having quiet, having a couple slow coffees with my cats. And that is lovely. And I condensed that and
Mhm.
then added in the exercise because then it's like, I don't have to worry about it later.
Yeah, I've noticed that working in the morning works better for me also, but I go through waves of being consistent and then I get derailed. And so it's something that I'm trying to get back into. Like this morning, I felt very lazy, but I was like, no, it was one of those mornings where I just wanted to sleep in a little bit longer, but I was like, no, I'm going to get up and I'm going to walk. And then I felt good after. Like my brain was having a little bit of a temper tantrum while I was like getting ready, but once I got out and I put on a podcast and I went in the park, there's like a big track on a park near me, then I was good. I was like in my little world. And then when I came back home, like I noticed, like I felt better that I actually pushed myself just to go out for a walk than if I had just stayed home and not done that. So it's an easy way to set yourself up with feeling like you accomplished something hard, because it is hard. In retrospect, it's very easy, but it can feel so difficult for us to do these things. And so it's a great way to set the stage for your day when you knock out something hard and then you're like, and I don't have to worry about working out until tomorrow morning because then you got it off your list.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you were saying before, we're coaches. So we're not, anyone who is a coach and says they're perfect is lying because everyone's a work in progress all the time.
Yeah.
So a lot of days where I get up and I'm like, no, but I'm always working on it. And one of the things that's really helped me is looking at it from a place of sort of a reframe into I have to do this to actually this is self-care. We tend to
Yeah.
think of self-care as like a massage or a bath or tea with a book, and those are things all our self-care, but so is pushing ourselves to do the things that are going to make us feel better, because especially when it comes to anxiety, I mean, when it comes to everything, but when it comes to stress, anxiety, like holy cow, it makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. And of course, there's external things that can cause anxiety for us that we don't have control over, but when we focus on the things we do have control over, with how we take care of our bodies, whether it's with food or rest or exercise, when those external stressful things happen, we're able to navigate those situations so much better because we're not all anxious within. Like we're in a much more calm state where we can then deal with those challenges in a much better frame of mind.
Absolutely. Starting is the hardest part. And while you're saying that, I flashed on a client I had a while back, and she was always in a state of anxiety when we got on the calls. And one of the hardest things for her was she didn't have time to fit in taking care of herself because she had so many things to do. There was like always, an emergency that had to be taken care of with work or her kids or something with the house. And those are all real, but she was coming at it from such an anxious place that she wasn't able to show up as well for those things. And they were taking her a lot longer because she wasn't fully there than if she had. It's kind of like taking a few minutes to get off the bike to learn how to program your GPS so you can get in the car and drive. It just, when you're in that cycle, it's really hard to stop. But if you take the time to stop and take better care of yourself, you're going to, like you said, you're just going to show up so much better.
Absolutely. As my son is almost done with high school, but when he was younger, and I just remember, especially when he was a baby and working full time and eating really, really fast. It's like you're lucky it's like you get a free moment of time. You're like, do I shower? Do I call my friend back? Do I eat something? And then when you're eating, like I was at that time eating whatever was quick and easy to make, like, just whatever I could throw in the oven that was like in the freezer. Um, so yeah, and I know one of the things that I've run into when I've spoken to other moms is feeling you don't have time to do anything or you can't focus on yourself. And one of the things I say to my clients all the time is, like when you're in an airplane, you have to give oxygen to yourself first before you can help anybody else. So if you take a moment to do something that's going to help you feel better physically and emotionally, that's going to also benefit the people around you, whether it's your coworkers, your family, your kids. It's you taking care of you is not selfish. It's, you have to prioritize yourself, and then and then it also benefits everybody else who has to be with you as well.
Yep, absolutely.
So, one of the other things I wanted to ask you is, what's the relationship of negative energy and anxiety?
So this is something that I've done a lot of work on in the past couple of years. I kind of randomly stumbled into this area. I was introduced to it by a friend who's also a coach. And there's this thing called somatic experiencing. A lot of people still haven't heard of it, but it's gaining more traction. More and more people I talk to are aware of it. And it's really about the concept behind it is that we are constantly absorbing energy, negative energy, whether it's anxiety or fear or anger, and we suppress it because usually for a survival reason. Like, for example, if our boss makes us really angry at work, we don't want to just yell at our boss, so we sort of swallow it down. Or if a guy cat calls us on the street, it's in our best interest to like keep walking, head down, don't show reaction. And we don't necessarily notice later that that's still in us. We've moved on to something else, we're not thinking about it, but that negative energy is still bubbling around in us. And if we don't make a conscious effort to kind of surface it and release it, it is really going to promote more anxiety. So working on awareness around negative energy and releasing it, surfacing it, is both a preventative action that we can take for anxiety, and it is something that we can do when we're in the moment or right after an anxiety attack happens. We might not be able to sit very comfortably while we're in, if we're having extreme anxiety, but sort of on both ends of it, it can really be impactful.
Yeah, when you sweep something under the rug, if you're sweeping dirt under the rug, eventually it's going to build and build and build, and then you have it starts to seep out from under the carpet, and when we sweep things and just shove them aside, eventually it's got to find a way out. It's sitting there in our mind, within us, if we haven't found a way to process it. And yeah, awareness is very big, because we don't know if what's an issue is until you identify it. And then once you identify it, then that gives you the ability to take the power away. Why you're feeling anxious, why am I feeling, certain people, like if you're working with a difficult coworker, and just journaling about finding a place to journal, it's just to kind of understand why working with this person is stressful for you. What are they doing that's stressing you out? Sometimes people can just be triggering, and you don't understand why this person is triggering you. And then when you sit down and you ask yourself, well, why, just certain questions, and why, what a question I like to use around triggers is, what does this remind me of? Or when have I experienced something similar? And then that's when you can make that connection of what this person, sometimes it may not be the person, it could just be something that they're reminding you of that could have been from somebody else, from your past. I'm diverging a little bit, but just tying in again about that awareness piece is, when you're aware of something, then you're able to take the power away or do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we usually don't even know that it's there. And
Right.
the thing that's kind of insidious about anxiety is if our body's really primed and we don't realize that it's already there, something like a small trigger, like a person, we're not like the anxiety might not necessarily even be about them. It's already there, but a small trigger in our day will just make it explode.
Right.
And that's that's a perfect example of why that energy is it's really important to like let go of.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some tips that you have for others looking to manage their anxiety and also manage the energy that they're experiencing?
Well, since we were just talking about it, I'll go off onto the somatic a little bit more.
Hmm.
I mean, there are practitioners that specialize in it, kind of like coaching, and I'm dying to add that into my arsenal, but yeah, I'll get there soon. But so there's people that are practitioners in it that are trained, but there's a lot that you can do without hiring someone. Journaling is actually a great way to start, but there's a kind of a meditation process to it that can be very short or it can be extended. But I will do a few times throughout the day, like 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. I'll set a timer and I'll think or maybe write down something that's been happening, something that's been coming up for me. And then I like to lie down. Some people like to sit. It doesn't really make a difference. You think about, not even think, you pay attention to where you're feeling it in your body. It might be tension in your shoulders. It might be like a vibration in your core. There might be heat. Anything that shows up is accurate. There's no right or wrong here. And then you sit with it. The idea isn't to go, I found you, good, go, because that's suppressing it in the other direction. You can't force energy. You need to pay attention to it, but remember that it's not going to hurt you. And also, it's fine if thoughts come up for you, but think them, acknowledge them, and then bring the attention back to your body. Because at the end of the day, it's our heads that will distract us from the physical. And it's really powerful. It took me a long time to get to this point, but now if I lie down with that 2-minute timer, I will feel like all kinds of energy moving in me that I didn't even realize was there. One time it almost felt like the bed was shaking. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's how powerful it was. And I
Oh,
just
wow.
sat with it. Sometimes it stays the same. Sometimes when I become aware of it, it moves and it shifts around. And by the time I'm done, it's not necessarily gone. But if I do that once or twice throughout the day, morning and before bed are great times. But if you have a 5-minute break in the middle of work, you can do it then too. It's slowly, it's kind of like if you have a balloon full of air, it's like spitting little bits like of air out of it to diffuse it. And
Yeah,
it's really powerful and really helpful.
that sounds like a great tool, and it doesn't take up a lot of time at all.
Mm-mm.
I've been trying to have like a morning routine and an evening routine to like bookend my day, because I've heard that that's like a really good way to you start your day with like a routine like meditation, and you don't need much, like 5-10 minutes. I usually do like 10 minutes meditating and 10 minutes journaling, just to kind of process anything that I'm feeling in the moment. But sometimes I'll do 5 minutes each. But my biggest challenge is doing something before going to bed. It's having a bedtime routine because usually after I'm done doing things, we have dinner, I'm either doing business stuff and then I might watch TV with my husband for a little bit. And then we're like half asleep on the couch and we just kind of like, drag ourselves to bed. So I struggle with that bedtime routine, which I feel would probably benefit me a lot of ways.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of my, it is hard to fit in. A lot of my bedtime routine, I have to fight with myself to not do stuff afterwards. Like if it's going to be a really soothing ritual is the goal, or a processing or winding down, then getting back on my phone for an hour afterwards and looking at social media isn't going to help. And I get very stubborn with myself. But yeah, if I have not done it at all, even when I get in bed and turn off the lights, I can try to squeeze in 1 or 2 minutes. I'm personally not someone who my head hits the pillow and I fall asleep instantly. I'm incredibly jealous of people that can do that.
I'm jealous of them too.
Yeah. So if anything, that helps it along a little bit.
It's interesting because like when I go to bed for like a good 5-10 minutes, I'll be scrolling through social media. And I've heard that's like the worst thing to do because first of all, you're staring at the screen and it takes your brain like some time, I've heard, to kind of like wind down from that. But social media can be a huge source of anxiety just with all of the back and forth of all the things that go on social media. And also, between various things that people are arguing about or people, you know, showing the highlight reels of their life and you thinking that everyone else's life is perfect and yours isn't, everyone's life is a mess in some capacity. It's just no one's going to show that on social media. So it's a lot of it can be a landmine of stress, again, without even realizing, because we're so programmed and so used to just looking at it that we don't even realize how it could be making us feel.
100%. And what was really interesting to me that I learned, I think I just learned this within the past year, but one of the reasons that they say not to look at tech before bed is because it actually suppresses melatonin, which is the sleep hormone. And so our body responds to sunlight in the morning that releases cortisol, which is the stress hormone, but it's just there to wake us up. And then when we see dark, it will release melatonin, the sleep hormone, and that light, specifically that screen light, will make it harder to fall asleep. So it's like a double whammy of the sleep hormone and reading things that might stress us out. I will not read the news before bed. I've cut the news down to twice a day. That's it. I can early, later, find out if anything big happens, make sure I know what's going on. That's it. And yeah, any social media that is going to upset me, I'm still really working on tools to limit myself, because I will try things and then they will slowly, the old habits will creep back in. I feel like all of us have this extreme social media addiction, or even just internet addiction, because of smartphones, which is only less than 15 years now. And we don't realize how it's like, I feel like it's releasing dopamine in our brain the same way that sugar or cocaine does, and there just haven't been enough studies yet on it.
It's so true. Like if I'm in the line in the grocery store and it's like a few people ahead of me, I'll just start scrolling and I don't even it's like our brain gets bored. It's like, oh, I need something to do. It's like an addiction of pulling that up and just screen. I've heard that there are apps that can monitor the amount of time you go on social media, so then you can like actually, because we don't realize it, but like the little clicks here, I'm always scrolling Facebook, when I have like a moment, and I don't even realize it half the time. So it's just so ingrained in us that it's good to know where maybe cutting back on that a little bit, maybe that could be helpful. So what are some resources that you would like to recommend to people who are watching?
Well, the big one that I would like to recommend is the Mind Body Circle. That is the group coaching membership program that I'm launching towards the end of October. There's going to be a lot of one-on-one work in there, group coaching, videos, documentation, challenges that are all related to our specific health goals. And a big part of health goals often involves stress management. And a lot of times I put stress management and anxiety kind of in the same area, and gut health, people. So I highly recommend checking that out. You can, I have a wait list right now. If you want it, you can send me your email address or sign up for it on my website, and then I'll send out an announcement to everyone as soon as it officially goes live. So that's my number one recommendation. But there's also some great articles. I can send you the link on some of the different studies. They're pretty easy to read on, like the mind gut connection, how gut health makes a difference, how exercise makes a difference, and a little bit more about what somatic experiencing is. So those are all resources.
That sounds great. Yeah, I'll definitely include the links to anything you want me to share. And that sounds great. The Mind Body Circle. That sounds like an exciting thing that you're putting together. It sounds like an exciting program to put together. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about that once you release it.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to sharing it more. It's a real passion project of mine. So I'm excited to share it with the world. I think it's going to be pretty great.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it sounds great. It's managing all those things in that internal, from that internal space, and it sounds like it ties in nicely with what we were just talking about just now. And what's the best way for people to connect with you?
You can go to jenniferfarleycoaching.com. I'm also on Instagram at Jennifer Farley Coaching. And then the mindbodycircle.com actually just takes you to a page on my website about the Mind Body Circle. But if for anyone that's interested in just going directly to information about that group, the mindbodycircle.com.
Great. I'll also include all the links in the notes below so everyone can find those easily. All right, Jennifer, well, it was so great having you on today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to have this really great conversation with me. And I hope all of you who watch got a lot of value from it, and definitely connect with Jennifer and check out her stuff.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
It was. All right, take care. Bye, everyone.